Coinbase just followed through with their limit order cancellations. So now what? If you had orders set outside of the range that they mentioned in that notification email, they're gone now. But don't panic. There are other options and even better options. And I'll show you where to place your trades safely. We'll cover my suggested platforms, why limit order restrictions may not even matter in some cases, and a powerful alternative you may not have considered. Now, here's something that you may have overlooked. Limit orders aren't always as restrictive as they seem. I recently placed a leveraged trade where my limit order was set nearly 10% below the market price. But in a matter of seconds, the price dropped sharply, hit my order, and then rebounded right back to where it was before my trade executed, completing my trade at the higher price and not at the low limit price. What this tells us is that even if a platform restricts how low or how high you can place an order, in a flash crash or spike, your order can still get filled at a much better price than where your limit was. But with that said, I wouldn't depend on that. So if you want true flexibility, you still need a platform that allows unrestricted orders. So let's talk about that. Where do I suggest placing your limit orders now? Now, again, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. This is for informational purposes. But two solid exchanges that I use are Kraken and KuCoin. They still allow unrestricted limit orders. And because I know you were on Coinbase, you already know how crypto exchanges work. So there's no need for me to go into detail about these two platforms. So let's talk about my third and probably number one recommendation, which is Caleb and Brown. Unlike traditional exchanges, they work as a crypto brokerage, which actually gives you an advantage when placing large limit orders. But before I explain why Caleb and Brown might be the best alternative, let me just in transparency tell you that I am an affiliate partner of Caleb and Brown. But Caleb and Brown did not reach out to me for the partnership. I reached out to them because I genuinely believe in what they do. Caleb and Brown was first mentioned to me all the way back in 2022 by my supervisor at work. And I didn't start looking into it until last year. And after multiple confirmations, I was like, okay, yeah, I really need to get on board with Caleb and Brown. So this is something that I genuinely believe in. I have limit orders placed on Caleb and Brown and have had them placed for months now. So I'm not selling you anything. I'm trying to help. So, with that said, one of the biggest problems when it comes to this topic of limit orders and exchanges like Coinbase is that they rely on their own internal order books. If there's not enough volume or liquidity, your order either won't fill or will be restricted. Caleb and Brown works differently because they're an OTC, over the counter brokerage. They don't rely on just one exchange to execute your trade. Instead, they use something that we'll call aggregated liquidity. That's just a way of saying they pull from multiple sources, different exchanges, institutional liquidity providers, and private OTC desks to find the best available price for your trade. Here's an analogy. If you're trying to buy a rare sneaker, you can check one store and hope they have your size, or you can search across multiple stores, online resellers, and private collectors all at once. The second option clearly gives you a much better chance of finding the exact sneaker you want at a price that works for you. The same applies here. Since Caleb and Brown taps into multiple liquidity sources, your limit orders are actually more likely to execute than if you were just using a single exchange's order book. This also helps reduce slippage, meaning your order is less likely to get filled at a worse price than you expected. Caleb and Brown doesn't restrict the size of your limit orders. The only requirement is that a buy limit order needs to be at least $500. But when it comes to sell limit orders, let's be real. You're probably aiming to sell at a much higher price than one that would net you only $500. So there's no concern there. And on top of everything I just mentioned, I've had multiple confirmations from others who feel God has led them to use Caleb and Brown as well as part of their strategy. It's something worth considering, especially if you've been feeling uncertain about where to move your trades. So, if you're interested in checking them out, I have an affiliate link that gives you some benefits while also supporting this channel. Coinbase dropped the ball, but we have some solid alternatives. So like I said, if you're in a situation to where you have to place orders on an exchange that restricts them, you may still end up being able to get the prices you're looking for in a flash crash or spike. But like I said, I wouldn't depend on that. I wouldn't count on that. So if it's possible, I would move the vast majority of my limit order assets elsewhere. You can check out the exchanges mentioned earlier or Caleb and Brown, link down below. I personally have diversified. I'm on every exchange and platform that I've mentioned in this video and then some. And if you want even more information on Caleb and Brown, check out one of the most thorough interviews they have on YouTube, if not the most thorough, conducted by yours truly. Be blessed.